game last night in Buffalo for me, Sabres and the Devils, that went into what became the longest NHL game in history. He shot pictures at home, the two of them, last night with two assistants in Buffalo, till 4 o'clock in the morning, 3:30 or 2:45 the game ended. Processed the film, and we're over in the administration building using the fax line, transmitting pictures from last night's hockey game from the end of the game. So it never ends. It's pretty crazy. I know I'm in Morrisville because 3 things happen. You drive into town and you don't get cell service, cellular phone service. You come here and the Sky pager doesn't work. And of course, there's always Jerry Leon shoes. I really want to show you pictures. I want to show you a little bit about what I do as a photographer and talk about stories, talk about things that I do as a photographer and what's happened to me over the past, I don't like to say the number of, like, whatever the number is, the number of years when Jerry didn't have gray hair, and in the days when he didn't win that pool that he finally won, I hear lately, he finally won that, finally won the pool he's been trying for 25 years to win. Did you bribe the guy, or did you pay him off or some promise, not where you're doing for a couple of days? So we could do the lights. We'll get going here, and some transmitters and scanning devices, one of which, the most popular of which is over in, as I said, the only live telephone line I could get that wasn't on the Centrex system was over in the administration building on the fax machine. So after this is all over, I'd like those of you that are photographers and those of you that would like to see what we're doing now technologically to scan images. I haven't printed a picture in a couple years now. We take the image, we scan it, Nikon makes a scanner, Kodak makes a scanner. There's one that's called a leaf scanner that's made by a proprietary company for the Associated Press. I have the Associated Press transmitter, I have the Reuters system with me. And what's happened now is this proliferation of electronics has allowed us to take a small scanning device, scan a negative, black and white or color, slide, whatever shape or form that it's in, digitize it into a computer. I have a PowerBook that lives with me, and my Macintosh PowerBook becomes a portable transmitter by the simple addition of the Photoshop software and a portable scanner. What's happened, and the bad side of this, is that we stopped talking about the content of photography. And in the process of doing this, we talk about, ooh, what's the new scanner? How many pixels are there? What kind of new gadgets do we have? And so a lot of what my focus has been in the National Press Photographers Association is to not get tied up in all this electronic crap, and to get back to what we do as photographers, what you do as journalists, in the collection of news, the collection of photography, photographs that tell stories. That's the bottom line. And it doesn't matter if you're working for a small paper in upstate New York or in Timbuktu, or you're working for a major paper or a wire service. It's all the same. You're telling a story by taking pictures. And it's a strange job. It's a great job. I wouldn't trade it for anything. But it's a very unusual way to be a storyteller from the conventional perspective. And so a lot of what I do started, there's this line of demarcation in my life. Or you guys that have heads in the way, just kind of move the chairs left or right or something there? It's loud as well. In 1982, I had worked for 8 years for the Buffalo Courier-Express. The Courier-Express was one of the 2 papers in Buffalo. And it, along with lots of other papers of the early 80s, succumbed to death by competition, by the economics, by an inflexible union structure and the guild of newspapers. A lot of things that caused newspapers, unfortunately, to die. The Washington Star died the same year, but USA Today was born the same year. So there's this strange dichotomy between the closing of papers and the rebirth of new kinds of media. I like to show this because a lot of things that you're going to see are post-Courier-Express. What I've done the past decade or so as a freelance photographer, working for all kinds of different clients rather than being a staff photographer of one publication. What was interesting about this is that I got assigned to cover the closing of the paper. So it's a picture of the last day, and I had to find a way to show the closing and have a picture of the last, I wanted to have a picture of the last paper on the cover of the last paper. So it was an interesting challenge on doing that. In all forms of photography, you find the need to see differently. Be it 2 guys playing in the mud with interesting light, be it cadets in Red Square practicing for a celebration in Moscow. You have to find a way. It's your job as a photographer to see different than everybody else sees. You have to wake up earlier, you have to get higher, you have to jump farther, you have to You have to do all the things. You know, reporters can sit home and watch. I am sick and tired of reporters sitting in press rooms watching games, partying and having a good time, and then writing the game like they're courtside. I don't want to say sick and tired of it. I just think it's an unfortunate double standard that reporters don't have to be there, and yet their bylines there as if they're courtside sometimes. You see this at a lot of big events. My point is that you as a photographer, you got the camera in your hand, and if you're in the deep, dark recesses of Soviet Georgia at an open market, this woman is selling her pigs. She grows them, she raises them, she brings them to the market, and she's trying to sell her pigs. This won a couple years ago in the Pictures of the Year competition as a magazine portrait feature. The different cultures that you need to do, that you need to see and understand as you take pictures and tell stories about them. This lady sells her pigs by getting her customers to smell the pig because you can smell how fresh it is. You know, none of us would go to the store today and buy a pork roast and take off the wrapper and take a sniff to see if it was fresh. This is the day that Senator Moynihan was elected to the U.S. Senate. He was then ambassador to the United Nations. I kind of like it because it's a nice picture of him looking like a person. Or a press conference where all of a sudden after the press conference, after the microphones, after the things are over with, suddenly you have a couple guys clowning around and this guy's the Secretary of the Army blowing big puffs of smoke. I like that. During his last, I guess it's actually his second last now, campaign for the governorship of New York, Mario Cuomo, my assignment for the New York Times was to shadow him a bit and find pictures that were very different, that showed him as a person. This is my favorite of a long selection of pictures, and here it is on page 1 of the paper. He's in a diner, it's early in the morning, he's having a cup of coffee, it's a long, grueling campaign, but there he is out there, and his security guard is sitting in the background. But I think it tells a story in its own small little way, of a little bit of the man's personality. When he got re-elected, and this is New Year's Eve, he's in his office working late, everybody else is getting ready to go out and party, and he's changing the light bulb in his desk. Now, it sounds like a stupid little thing, except that you got to put it into context. He's preparing his speech, it's late at night. He lets me in for 30 seconds to make a picture, literally. I mean, I got 12 frames of film off. And he said, just a minute, Joe, I want to get this light working. And here he stops what he's doing to make, he's a person. He stops a minute, and there it is on the front page of the paper. I'm not to say that I'm right in my opinion, except that it's nice when the editors agree and it gets good play. You'll never outgrow group shots. This is my favorite group shot. It's the G7 summit, President Reagan's last summit meeting. And getting this group of people together for a posed picture is not a casual thing. Sometimes you have to make pictures out of virtually nothing. On Wednesday of a December week in 1992, it was announced that the American troops were going into Somalia. I got an assignment from Newsweek to go to Watertown to get a picture, preferably a cover picture, to go with that week's story about the biggest news story perhaps on the globe. And so I get to Watertown, and there's no pictures, and there's no access, and you can't go anywhere, and you can't do anything, and you can't get in, and they're not packing yet. And it took a lot of personal diplomacy and a lot of bull throwing to get myself into a situation where I convinced the PR officer, just bring me out to where the guys are packing. Okay, the plane isn't leaving, but I need a picture. It's Friday morning. Newsweek goes to bed on Friday night. I got to have a picture in New York by noon. And the problems and conflicts that I went through in a short couple hours on a Friday morning at about 10 below zero in Watertown to make a very simple picture. It is a real simple picture that probably any of you could make. It's with a zoom lens, probably at 180 millimeters, give or take a few. And there it is on the cover. And it's not sometimes how good the picture is. It's not the best picture necessarily that wins. In the case of a lot of newsworthy instances like this, it was the only picture that they had that told the story, that was accurate, that made it, got on the cover, and it's kind of nice when things like that work. I talk too much, so if any of you have any questions, please don't hesitate yelling or stopping me or talking. We also have some more chairs in here if you guys in the back want to come in. This is a bad fire. All kinds of you out there shooting for daily papers are going to have to shoot bad situations that you're not comfortable with, situations that that maybe aren't pleasant. This was a fire that several kids were killed, and this is an aftermath picture that I kind of thought told the story. Or the Hudson River froze, and I'm out there on the ice. This guy walked out to the boat, and they dropped down a bucket, and he put the morning papers into the boat for the captain, which I thought was a rather strange thing. But then you have to be crazy enough to go out on the ice with the boat. Or shooting for Sports Illustrated. It was a cover piece on Bruce Smith. And Bruce was this lovable, nice guy, except the day that it had to be done, the only day, the window of opportunity to shoot the picture, there was virtually nothing going on. So we had to come up with a general news picture. We had to come up with a picture. And we found a local Boy Scout, Girl Scout camp that was nearby, and we put them on a bus, and we brought them over, and we basically created a portrait. Not set up a picture, but created a portrait of Bruce. Because this is what he does. He goes out with the kids, he meets them, he does the things. In this specific instance, that wasn't possible because of the time frame, and it made a pretty nice picture that got good play in SI.